There was a boy named Leo who loved his grandmother more than anything in the world. She smelled of lavender and warm sugar, and her hugs were the kind that wrapped around your heart, not just your shoulders. She lived in a small blue house on the hill, where the garden always bloomed and cookies were always warm. Every summer, Leo would stay with her. They built forts from bed sheets, painted rocks like animals, and talked about the stars. "When people we love go away," she once told him, holding his small hand in hers, "they become stars so they can still watch over us." But one winter, before the snow had melted and before the spring flowers had woken up, Leo's grandmother fell asleep and didn't wake up. He didn't understand at first. Her chair was still in the same spot. Her teacup still rested on the windowsill, but her laugh no longer echoed through the hallways and her hands no longer held his. At the funeral, Leo didn't cry. He watched the grown-ups place flowers by her picture. He listened to the soft piano music and the rustle of tissues. But he said nothing. He just stared up at the sky and wondered which star she had become. A few days after, when they returned from the hilltop where she had been buried, Leo sat at his desk and pulled out a piece of paper. He wrote, "Dear Grandma, I miss you. I miss your stories and your hugs, and the way you made even rainy days feel like adventures. I don't know where you are, but I hope it's beautiful. I wanted to tell you that I'm okay, not all the time, but sometimes, and I hope you're proud of me. Love always, Leo." He folded the letter carefully, placed it in an envelope, and wrote in large letters, "To Grandma the Stars." He planned to leave it by the window, thinking maybe the wind would take it, or maybe it would just disappear, like she had. But then someone called him downstairs, and the letter slipped beneath a book on his shelf and was forgotten. Years passed. Leo grew taller, his voice deeper. He stopped visiting the blue house on the hill, though he often thought of it. His parents had sold it after Grandma passed. The garden overgrew, the shutters faded. But in Leo's mind, it always looked the same. His little sister June was born the year after their grandmother died. She never met her, but she knew about her through Leo's stories. Whenever he spoke about Grandma, his voice softened and his eyes got far away. One summer afternoon, when the sun painted golden stripes across the wooden floor of their attic, June was searching through boxes of old books and drawings. She loved exploring, especially when it felt like she was discovering pieces of people she'd never known. In one of Leo's dusty boxes, she found a letter, yellowed with time, addressed in crooked handwriting. To Grandma the Stars. Curious, June climbed out the attic window and onto the flat roof below, where Leo used to stargaze as a boy. She sat cross-legged and opened the envelope. As she read the letter, something inside her tightened. She could feel Leo's love in every word, and his sadness too. When she finished, she held it close to her chest and looked up at the evening sky, where the first stars were beginning to peek out, like sleepy eyes blinking open. That night, June slipped the letter onto Leo's pillow. When Leo found it, he recognized it immediately. The shaky handwriting, the smudged ink where a tear must have landed. For a long moment, he just stared at it. Then, as the moonlight streamed through the window, he held the letter close, just like he had meant to all those years ago. He didn't know why he'd never sent it. Maybe he'd been afraid it wouldn't matter, that words written on paper couldn't travel where she had gone. That night, he dreamed. In his dream, he stood in the garden of the blue house on the hill. Everything was just as he remembered, the flowers blooming, the breeze warm and full of song. And there she was, sitting in her favorite chair, her knitting in her lap, and a smile in her eyes that melted everything cold inside him. "Hello, my star," she said. Leo ran into her arms. "I wrote you a letter," he whispered. "I know," she said softly, brushing his hair back. "I've been waiting to hear it." In the dream, he read it aloud, every word. And when he finished, she took his hand, just like she used to, and held it to her heart. "You never needed to send it," she said. "I've always heard you." He woke up with tears on his pillow, but this time they didn't sting. They felt like rain watering a garden long forgotten. He sat by the window as the sun rose, watching the stars fade into dawn, and whispered a quiet thank you. From that day on, Leo began writing again. Not just to Grandma, but to memories, to dreams, to feelings he'd kept tucked away. He even shared the story of the letter with June, who promised to write her own letter to someone she missed, even if she hadn't met them yet. And the letter. It stayed pinned above his desk, not as something unfinished, but as a reminder that love doesn't always need to be mailed to be received. Some goodbyes aren't final. Some words, even if never spoken out loud, still find their way home.